welcome back to the channel. I'm Shanna. I'm a Canadian medical student, and this channel is mostly on pre-med mentorship and medical student advice, but we're also trying to feature a lot of really important issues that need to be talked about today. So,
surgery, but yeah, you yourself, like, do you ever see just doctors being more present on social media in this way?
yes, I have an opinion on this. I follow quite a few. After I moved to Instagram, I kind of get rid of some of the more unhealthy stuff and just follow more inspirational. But I think that's super interesting because actually recently there's quite a few physicians and surgeons, female physician surgeons, great, spreading a lot of really great content. Some of them are like empowerment, and then there's a I can think of a few that are venturing into TikTok and are making. For example, there's a dermatologist that I know, and she's spreading like verified like information that she knows from like actual literature and about like that increase acne, and these are like doing this like retinoids help because of the scientific mechanism, but people actually drag over it, or I guess be trendy anymore once in a few years. But basically, people criticized her for it. They said it's so immature, or a physician shouldn't be on TikTok. Similar. This person is an example, but I think other similar people doing similar things, trying to put like professional educational content that's like actually good on TikTok, about some of the stuff, and spread good knowledge, like knowing all the things that you said before, that like young people, that's their main source of knowledge right now, maybe, and they get criticized for like this interesting thing where they're not supposed to be on the social media space, or they shouldn't be doing silly things that kids do, or so I think that's like very people call it, I kind of understand, like I will take a middle ground and say it's a little bit cringe and kind of I don't know why it feels a little weird to see someone who like we're expected to be like professional in a particular way be on social media, but I feel like the intent is good and they're spreading good knowledge, so it's a little confusing. And I think the worry, for sure, which is why I agree with you, like that whole idea, people like, oh, it's maybe unprofessional, is like, what would an older patient think? I actually think it would give you credibility and relatability to younger people you're trying to reach, the whole younger generation. But I think the worry is that, say, someone who is in their 70s might be like, I don't know if I respect or trust a doctor who is on this thing called social media, and they're kind of music and a dance and being a little bit silly.
And like the
stigma almost of that in a particular way of being active on social media, which I think like there are many people that will be understanding, and once they get explained the intents behind it, they'll probably be okay. But I personally think it's like okay. It's a little cringe just because it's not as well produced as some of the stuff that we're used to seeing. But for all intents and purposes, I think if we continue down this route and we get used to seeing that, I think it will be good. And I think as a healthcare professional, I don't know, would I want to be on TikTok? I'm not a great dancer, but I think I would definitely approve and support if my colleagues in a particular field were like, I'm going to produce, I'm a cardiologist, I'm going to produce cardiology TikToks, or, I'm a diabetes expert, let's put some diabetes awareness out on TikTok. I think that would be really cool. I think, I guess one thing that comes to mind, I think would be the most relatable and maybe more interesting than even a physician, is to say a juvenile, like a child or a teenager who is living with, say, type 1 diabetes, and they maybe talk a little bit on their own tips, and maybe screened, like maybe like through a group, like say of type 1 diabetics together, and then maybe they have a dietitian or a physician like review or verify, or maybe they're just taking like actual advice they were given by their healthcare professional and provide it. I think that would be really cool, because I think that's a little bit more relatable, that someone who's lived it or living in it can provide some like tips on that kind of thing. I think that would probably be the nice middle ground, where maybe we don't compromise the strangeness. I think it also relates back to what you were saying before, as when you were younger and trying to find websites, you were like, if you're like looking to see someone that's kind of very far away and not relatable to you at all, you might not even into that content. So I'm thinking that's a nice middle ground. Again, the problem is the moderation and the accuracy of stuff, but like there are a lot of rules about like what you can't do, right? Like about like how to maintain professionalism, how to make a profile very clean and like that will be trusted and respectful to patients. But there are no rules, not because nobody cares about it, but just because nobody knows how to best do it. There's no rules or even support and guidelines on how to use social media for advocacy, how to kind of not just on the defensive, but almost on the offense. Like how can we use it? Just like that, those are some unconscious rules I've absorbed from somewhere. I think one thing that's controversial though is I think relating to some of the recent events that happened in 2020, like there is some controversy on what is allowed to take a stance on. So I was even considering taking a stance on eating disorders or mental health disorders considered controversial, but things like Black Lives Matter and other like controversial issues, I think even then there's a lot of gray on is it appropriate to express my support publicly. I think you can express it in your private Instagram, your private Facebook, but if a page, like a public page, is it okay to take a stance on a political issue? And and other political issues, and I think that's still a controversial statement. I think right now the official statement is to take no public opinion on a social issue, which for sure, like I totally see so many benefits of that because you don't want to alienate someone, and I would never want to make a patient feel uncomfortable if for whatever reason a stance I'm taking is one that disagrees with theirs for maybe this, etc., or maybe they just haven't come to it yet, or maybe my opinion is not even necessarily ever like totally correct. Maybe I'm on like the wrong side. I don't know. So I don't want to make a patient feel uncomfortable just because I have a particular opinion on something. But I also think we're also people that I think the weird ground is that we're also people that ideally are people who should take stance on some important issues, especially say it's related to healthcare. I think it would be amazing if I could take a stance on something related to that, or even social issues. I think working, in dietitian as a dietitian or physician, we work so closely with social economic issues that not saying we're the best source or the most knowledgeable source, but I think as we work with that, we might develop some particular feelings for social issues. I feel like in a way, like I think it would be amazing if we were allowed to take some stance on some issues, and so I totally see why it's like a very gray area, and think to go forward to keep doing it and then set our own set precedents, I guess.
Professionals be vulnerable with their mental health, and I want to be vulnerable with the things that like I've gone through and others have gone through as well. But as I'm getting older and we're learning more about our professions, there is so much regulation and structure that we have not even learned about yet. And I think in the new gen, we want to branch out into what we're comfortable with and what our generation has brought, like movements, social media, having identity online. We're trying to bring that into our practice, but I feel like the generations above, they don't have the groundwork made yet. So I'm just hoping, like you and I, like as we're going through, it'd be really amazing to see how everyone just tries to break the walls of past stigma and just keep improving the way we practice and give healthcare. I think 10-year-olds deserve just as much attention where they are looking for attention, just as much as adults need support as well. And if a 10-year-old likes TikTok, I feel like it'd be great for them to see a doctor that they'd be so inspired by and they would follow, and that would be kind of their role models, contrary to harmful, like disordered eating content from their model. Like I feel like we just need to find a way to use social media as one of our weapons to like deliver healthcare, and I'm hoping it'll be something we'll figure out someday.
And maybe there'll be an entirely new field. Like one day in 10-20 years, physicians will so dietitians will go into a field. They'll be like, there's a particular subspecialty or something that will be like advocacy for teenagers or something like that. So that would be kind of cool. Maybe there'll be a course, I don't know, on like how to, maybe you can make one, like on like, or I'll help you, I don't know. If there's a way to help you, let me know. But like on like how to use, like maybe in 10 years we can even make a little like e-course or something, and just like, this is how to use social media. for advocacy as a healthcare professional. That would be really cool. Actually, following social media has actually really positively impacted me. So I'm hoping that when you're at TikTok and stuff, you can feel someone inspired. Like, I think one of the greatest sources for me, I have a lot of amazing mentors, but most of them happen to be male, for example. But I think something I'm constantly worried about is like, can I become a surgeon or just a good physician as a balance of family? And these people that I would never have a chance to meet in real life, and I probably still will never meet in real life, I get to follow and feel inspired in how they share some of their struggles and their tips, and even knowing that these people exist on the internet and living that life that I want to do is so inspiring to me. So back to this is like just people knowing that there are people that have recovered and just live totally, completely fine lives now that they've recovered. I think it's just like really inspirational just to know people are out there and living the same way. Actually, I think one thing that really warms my heart, and unfortunately I feel like I don't do as many of these I should, is like sometimes I get a few like DMs on Instagram where they're like, yeah, I really loved the interview shared by Gina or any of the other non-traditional medical students, and for them going through a hard time right now trying to get their way to medical school and going through some challenges, just hearing that someone has walked a similar path or the same feelings brings them so much comfort. I think is the beauty of what social media has given us. It's a gift that wasn't available, just like 5-10 years ago, and I think there's a lot to look forward to what can be done, and like it's already doing like great things. So
I'm really happy to hear your perspectives throughout this past hour.